Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. I'm here today with CryptoKorb. We decided that we're gonna do more live streams together. You know, we're always doing live streams apart from each other, but I think our value really shines when we're doing it together. So happy to have you here. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah. It's funny. You know what? You say actually the only 2 live streams I've ever done, this has been my second one, has been with you. So you kind of got me
really?
doing, yeah, you kind of got me doing the live streams. Everything else I do, I just kind of record it and put it up. And so you're breaking me into the live stream feel.
Awesome. Happy to hear. So, welcome everyone. In short, we're going to talk about 2 things today. First of all, it's going to be the margin engine. We're actually going to launch it today. So everyone who has been whitelisted, stay tuned, because right after the live stream or at the end of the live stream, we will give you the link to actually sign up and claim your spot. I'm going to talk more about it later, but keep in mind, there's only 30 spots. And, you know, by the way things look, they're going to be filled pretty fast. And the second thing we're going to talk about, and we're going to start off with that, is the general market. So I'm just going to quickly switch views. And I want to talk about Bitcoin first. I'm just going to give you my view of Bitcoin real quick, and then we can let Corpse do his magic. So what has happened in the past week? You know, basically for me, I'm still feeling the same about the market. You know, we've been putting in these lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, you know. Well, our support, and I would say our support ranges anywhere from $6,200 all the way down to, you know, let's say 58. So this is our support zone. It's important to understand our support is not one simple line. It's actually a zone where the price comes into. People, you know, like trade there, and then it can be pushed back up. And what is happening here is we're getting closer and closer and closer to support without making any kind of real strong bullish move. And, you know, of course, this is good to see. We're not making any lower lows, so that's definitely a bonus. But apart from that, we are getting closer and closer while we, you know, the bulls are losing power. They're losing gas, so to say. And what this might result in, as far as I'm concerned, and that's what it's actually doing right now, it's creating a descending triangle. And, you know, it's better visible on the linear scale. Basically, this is what I'm looking at. And descending triangles are known for breaking downwards. This is a bearish pattern, you know, but of course, it's very important to keep in mind this is crypto, so anything might happen. So that brings us to the shorter term. We're just going to go over to the hourly chart. What we see here up until now, you know, and I have no reason to believe otherwise, is that the bulls have made yet another failed attempt to basically push through and attack that resistance. Now, what this might result in, and I say might because, you know, as long as support is intact, there is no reason whatsoever to be bearish. But what it might result in is, you know, a break below support, making this the weakest bounce so far, you know, and that could result in a dramatic fall through support all the way down to 5,000. But as Corpse and me have discussed, the way bear market ends, you know, bear markets, they do not end in a single low point. What happens 9 out of 10 times is that the price will remain around the same level. And in this case, it could be support sitting around 6,000. And it will just remain there for several months. You know, if we scroll back to the last bear market, let me just, not sure. There we are. This has also happened. You know, we've basically made the real lows way back. Obviously, during this bear market, we've gone a little bit lower, but this time zone, as a, you know, this date and price range zone lasts for about a year. And all the price has been doing in this time is just trading around the same zone. That's what I'm personally expecting to happen next. And that's why it is so important to get this margin trading going. That's why we're doing the margin engine, because without margin, you're going to have a hard time in such a range. If the price is just, chopping around for a year, you're going to have like a not very profitable time if you're not going to be able to trade margin. So that's part of the reason why we're launching this new product. But apart from that, there are a couple of things that we should look for. First of all is a re-entry in support. Once we re-enter support, I wouldn't necessarily trade this range due to the fact that if we do break down, it could go very hard. If we do break down, or if we do break up, same story, but then the other way around. This can be mitigated by stops, absolutely, but it's always very important to be careful around these areas. And so in short, what I'm doing right now is I'm waiting to reach support, and by the looks of it, we're gonna reach it either today or tomorrow. If anything, I do not expect the bulls to regain control for today. Also, if we take a quick look at the RSI, and the MACD, in short, they all tell us the same thing. RSI is heading lower. MACD definitely breaking down here. That's breaking the previous low. So I'm not all too bullish right now. That being said, once we do reach support, I might be looking to get into a quick position. And which way that is, you will find out in Discord. Obviously, if you're not in Discord yet, it's completely free. Just go to cryptocampus.io and sign up. So that's my view on the market. I expect some more chop here, but until we do break support or we manage to break resistance, I do not expect any very aggressive moves whatsoever. So that's it for Bitcoin from my side. I'm now gonna give Corpse the word, where he can explain what he's doing, how he's viewing the market, and get some wisdom out of that. Also, if you have any questions, make sure to just post them on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, great, good analysis. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a little bit. We probably have a little bit of a different view on a couple things, but I think in the bigger picture, especially, we're on the same page. I not to reiterate what you said, but this is what I've been thinking for a long time. Is I don't see us for any reason just going off into a bull run, and I don't see that the alternative to that is that we have to crash and go sub 3K. It's a very real scenario that we're just going to be in a very maybe a few $1,000 chop for a while. And I think that's okay. And that's something that we can expect, or not expect, that's something that I think we should all be planning for. Because what if that happens? What if, at the end of 2018, there is no bull run, there is no alt season, right? And I think we're all seeing that could be a very real reality. Now, on the positive side of that is when Bitcoin does its thing, and if it wants to take off, and then when we start to enter another bull run, that can happen extremely quickly, and which is exciting, and the volatility is insane. But until we start seeing signs of that, I think predicting it or kind of holding on to that hopium is a little bit of a losing battle, where we need to be more realistic. Okay, what do we do right now today in these market conditions, right? And that's to your point, Jeff. That's why we started the BitMEX and the margin engine, is because if you're not in a position where you're shorting, and if you're not in a position where you can take advantage of smaller moves as a trader, you're missing out on a lot of things, and you're missing out on a lot of opportunity. So as far as, I guess I can share my screen here too.
Absolutely.
See how this goes. What I'm seeing is, and just from, this is a daily time frame, I'm getting mixed signals here. And what I'm seeing is definitely lower lows, right? And so if we zoom this way out and we go back pretty much since the last all-time high, we've just been putting in these drops, these lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Like we've been narrowing down, but we are holding this kind of high 5,000, low 6,000 area. We're not putting in real drastic lows as we go down either. We put in, some drastic lows, but since then we've kind of just been consolidating down. So I see this, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I see this kind of consolidation just keeping, I'm going to see this kind of continuing to play out. And I don't necessarily see a good reason that will flush and just go down parabolically. But I don't necessarily see a reason right now why we would just jet up either. So I could see, I'm just playing this, and I could see this playing out for a little while. I had a few days ago, and on my channel, my last market update, I was having a upward bias, a bullish bias, and I was actually in a swing trade. And what I was seeing, if I can kind of drill this back in, was a failure on this pullback that we had. When we kind of continued our drop, we failed to put in a lower low here, and it looked like we based, and I was expecting another kind of push up. But what ended up happening, and I was talking about this on my market update, is we're failing to get above this low volume right here. So we have a pretty significant low volume area right above, and we've tested it several times, and we're failing to get above. Now, the flip side of that is we're not accepting these lower prices either. We keep putting in these crazy wicks, and we'll do these drops, and then we'll kind of take it all back. So I'm getting definitely mixed signals on it, and I really have been hating this day trade action. If you zoom this in, this is my trigger chart, but we keep putting in these crazy, drops that are happening almost consistently, and then a lot of times they're just getting taken right back. So when these drops are happening, realistically, you're not getting in and taking advantage of those. Just especially if you're using a platform like BitMEX, it's going to be offline. So it's very hard to capitalize on that move when it happens, unless you're already in it and you're, somehow have your stops already set to, be in these areas, which is very difficult, in my opinion, to execute. So on the daily time frame, I'm expecting, obviously the bulls have not been able to take back anything today. We opened up, we had a little bit of an attempt higher, and then since then we've just been failing to the downside. And you and I were talking about this morning, Jeff, but as of right now, there's no reason to see that the bulls will be stepping in. And so any kind of a bias to this is, going to have to be to the downside. For me. But, this is very tricky conditions right now because we're just kind of in the middle of something, and I don't see a great spots to get leveraged in for swing trades. But it's also the actual intraday action has been very tricky, which is okay, and that's fine. And the more you trade, and depending on, what kind of style you're doing and what qualifies setups for you, you're going to have a lot of times where that's what the market is doing, right? Are you still seeing my screen, or what are y'all seeing on that side?
Your screen is gone now for a second. I can see you.
You see me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm kind of done with the screen. But yeah, so, I mean, that's just going to happen a lot. And you're going to go through these times where you're just not exactly clear what the market is doing. And that's fine. And that's a part of it, part of trading, especially if you're day trading. But these are the times that you don't freak out and you don't go aggressive and you don't try to overtrade. But these are the times where you take a step back. You either wait for the market conditions to start changing and for for it to be made more clear to you. And you take your higher quality setups and you go in with, typically smaller size as well. Until things are clearing up. And because we all know what it's like to be able to look at the market, and they call it trading in the zone. But that's when you can see the market and you almost and then there's times where it's just not. And so it's very important to understand how you're viewing it. And so there might be people who have a very clear understanding of this, but for me and my perspective, this is a really tricky read. But if gun to my head, and what I'm seeing right now is it looks like we'll probably be going down a little bit. Again, I'm not expecting anything crazy one way or another, but just looking to play the chop right now.
Yep, and that's basically how I see it as well. And that's not only, what I'm personally seeing of the Bitcoin charts, but if we take like a good look at alts in general, and I'm just going to open the Ethereum BTC pair for this to demonstrate what I really mean here. It would, to me personally, make most sense if we hang around in this zone for a while and just give the alts a chance, because we have to remember the alts, and this goes for 90% of the alts, have taken a massive beating. 80% drops, 90% drops, nothing's too crazy. And of course this can go on for a while, but there has to be, at least at some point, there has to be a bounce. And I think that's now, and I will just demonstrate as to why I am seeing this. I'm just going to open my Ethereum chart. Can you guys see the chart? Just let me know in the comments. Should be fine. So, Ethereum paired against BTC. And I'm just going to enable the log scale for this one. I have to redo the whole chart. Here is like the very most long-term chart anyone could possibly think of, right? This is the Bittrex chart. The reason I've opened it on Bittrex is because this data goes back way further than most of the other exchanges. And we got a very nice Ethereum bounce. And, I think we all agree that when I say Ethereum is the leading alt indicator, 9 out of 10 times this is actually the case. And when Ethereum just goes to shit, everything does. When it bounces, everything bounces. So I like to look at Ethereum not only as an instrument, but also as like a general market indicator. Back in October 2015, and this will probably teach you a thing or two about charting, we've set this support over here. Now, if we go to the present, we're going to go all the way to 2018. You can see that the support, which has been set in 2015, is actually still valid. And that's why I always say, look left for clues. And we found a clue. We found some support there. We've made a very nice hanging man, as it's called. Or it's like the same as a gravestone doji, but then it's in reverse, which is a bullish sign. Has to have a small body with a long wick. That's what we are basically seeing here. So, we set up shop, we open a position. I believe it was somewhere around the 0.03 mark. And now we're going to have to decide our target. And obviously I've done that for the group. I've set the targets and all that, but I think it's important to understand how I am designing on this target, at least for Ethereum and for most of the other alts as well. What we have here is like a very good bounce. We've set a very good doji here, hanging man, and the day after, like 1 day later, we got this great bullish reaction. Price went up about 16%, 15% in 1 day. So that, to me, that's a sign bulls have taken over control. Now, the next thing we're going to have to do is decide a target. One might decide to draw a trend line, or whatever. What I've decided to do is just very simple: take out the Fibonacci, look left for clues. Where is support? Where is resistance? And what we will find is that by far most of the price action happened around the 786 Fibonacci trend line. Now, this represents a price of about 0.04. So obviously that's what I've set as a target, and that's what I'm aiming for. Now, two things might happen. We could potentially break this low, which would invalidate the whole position. And to me, that would also suggest that we are gonna, go on a journey into the unknown. Because as far as, diagonal supports go, this is the very last diagonal support. There is no other way to draw any support below this line apart from horizontal supports, which will, often be represented by Fibonacci lines. Now, if we manage to reach this target, that would be great. Doesn't really matter what happened after that because we're done with our position. But there's also a very realistic, chance or possibility that we're going to have to revisit supports, because oftentimes after such a massive bounce, 9 out of 10 times the price doesn't simply make a hanging man and returns into a bullish sentiment. That's just not how it works. So even for the alts, for the general alt market, I'm gonna expect some chop. I'm gonna expect a very good fight from the bulls, but also some resistance from the bears. And if we manage to hold above the support that I've drawn here, I think there's a very good chance for at least like a mini alt run. I wouldn't say alt season, but that would give us a very nice couple of weeks to play some good positions. And as Corb said, there is just not going to be like a magical alt season out of the blue, right? Things don't happen that way. We need a catalyst. We need something to happen in order to spark a new bull run. And until that time, we're gonna be very happy margin trading on BitMEX or on Bitfinex, whatever. But we're gonna have to do it with care, and we're gonna have to do it with a lot of common sense. So that's kind of where I am standing on the general alt market. And of course, Ethereum. I'm using Ethereum as a general indicator, but one might also chart the alt market cap. But you will find that it looks like 99% the same. That's my view, and I'm curious what Corb's view is.
Yeah, when it comes to Ethereum, when it comes to any of the alts, I mean, obviously, most of the alts are using Ethereum, and so the looking at that as an indicator is great. What I'm seeing with alts, man, and I don't really trade them a lot. And anybody who follows me or follows what I've been doing or any of my updates or anything is I really do focus on Bitcoin and margin trading. So when there's opportunities, and in my opinion, this is more in the bull run alt season. Obviously, there's just so much but opportunity. It's well then if you're new to trading or if you're in trading, maybe you haven't been on this train of thought yet. But it's very important to know kind of what your strengths, what your weaknesses are, and what makes sense to you. Jeff, are you talking right now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, cool.
I can hear you.
All right, great. I'm out and about right now, so I don't know if my internet might be a little bad, but yeah, just really important to know what makes sense to you and to kind of stick with that. Almost like with investing, like you don't want to put your money into something that you don't understand. It doesn't matter how good of an opportunity it is. It doesn't matter, and I have this conversation a lot with people with crypto because they're like, how do I, whatever. And it's just not a good idea. It's not a good idea to put your money into something that you don't understand. And when it comes down to trading and your style and what you want to take advantage of, it's important to know to develop a skill set and to focus in on that, right? You can do other things, obviously, but kind of stay in your lane. And so for me, scanning all the alts and going through all that's just not my style. I don't like that process even of like sifting through all those things and whatnot. I like to look at a product like Bitcoin and become intimately familiar with it. And a lot can be said for that. When you pick one product and you stare at it for hundreds of hours, you become intimately familiar with it. And going back to the point I said earlier, where it's acting strange right now, where we're seeing these drops, but it's not going anywhere, and this is a tough, trading environment, in my opinion. You see those kind of things more obviously because you're staring at the same thing constantly, right? And that's where I really focus on Bitcoin. And with as volatile as it is, without with the abilities that we have to use margin, there's so much opportunity there. There's no reason for me to to venture too far outside of that.
Yeah.
Again, especially in the conditions that the overall market is in now, I don't see a big reason for for me to be involved in alts or anything like that. So the alts play, in my opinion, are just kind of scooping up these low prices on projects that you like. Fill in the bags, keep that going, and then as far as like actively trading them, this isn't the thing for me. So I don't chart them. I don't really focus on them that much. I have my projects I like, and I'm building it out like that.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in a way, especially for margin trading, if you're venturing out of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin itself, of course, is like super volatile. But if you venture to the alt land, things can become a little bit dangerous if you're not too familiar with margin trading. And that's something we're also going to teach, in our margin engine course. And it's gonna be great. But in general, you're right, and I think that's like gold advice to our viewers.
Yeah. I mean, it's margin is unbelievably. These markets are so volatile, and when you start adding margin into it, it is just unbelievably, risky if you don't know what you're doing. And risk really comes into play with ignorance. And when you don't know and you don't have a really rock solid plan or just a rock solid approach, margin trading in the crypto space is just a recipe for disaster. And I say that from somebody that's all I do, and that's what I use. And I do this full time. Like I'm not going to a day job later. Like this is what I do. And so, but I know, and I have such a respect for it because it is very easy to just wipe away 2 or 3 weeks worth of good progress in one trading session. If you're, not using it correctly, and if you're not following your plan. So, that's going to be that's the whole reason is just really focusing in on this context of, who knows what's going to happen, but there's a very real scenario where we don't have a bull run and where we don't have a massive drop, where we just spend the next maybe several months and just kind of have a few $1,000 range that we just keep bouncing around in. And we're just going to keep seeing more of the same. Every time we drop down to where we are right now, people are crying. And then every time we rise up a little bit, people are calling for the bull run, right? And we're just going to keep seeing that happen over and over and over again. Or you can be in a better position to actually take advantage of it. And it doesn't matter to me how you view the market or what system you're using, or if you're using indicators or if you're not. If you can understand at a fundamental level how the market operates and understand why we have markets and just the basics of auction market theory, and being able at a day time frame to look at a session and understand the bulls are in charge, the bears are in charge, this is my bias, this is, being able to break that down, however you're viewing the market, that's going to help you incredibly. Because that's also very transferable knowledge to any type of a market. You can go to traditional markets, you can go into regular markets, anything along that line. So that's what I'm most excited about the margin engine coming up is breaking down that part of it and breaking down the actual, how to analyze out a market and the actual tools side of it, right? Because I talk about it a lot, but I hate focusing on the setups. I hate focusing on the calls or what indicators you're using. And for me, I don't use them. I have 0 lagging indicators on my chart. I don't lean on that, for any of my trading decisions. But if you do, it's awesome. And if you're finding results with it, it's great. Because how you enter the market is really not that important. It honestly isn't. It's important to the sense of, if you don't have a system, if you don't have a strategy, you're not going to make it, right? But it's not as important as everybody thinks it is, at all. And as I learned entering the space, when I got into trading, that's all I wanted to focus on was, what setup's the best, what has the highest win rate, right? That was the focus. And it wasn't until, probably a year or 2 into the markets when I really started to switch my focus. And then when I actually got on at a prop shop in Chicago and started trading a self-directed account for it was a protect fund. But when I started doing that and really seeing the other, and that's when it really was solidified in my head. And that's why I'm such an advocate for it now of really focusing on your risk management and building out your trading plan and sticking to that. So that's where that's where my passion is, and Jeffrey, you the same thing, is when we really sat down and started building out the campus and just thinking about what can we do to actually help bridge that gap and actually not just give people fish, so to speak, and give trade calls or give trade setups, but how can we actually equip people, and what can we actually how can we do that? And it's been so challenging because
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's one thing to know kind of what you do, and it's a whole nother thing to be able to structure it and actually put that either into a course content or into something that's palatable. And trading's a very unique business that not very many people understand. And some people have been in it for years and they still don't get it. And the reason being is you have to switch some of the fundamental things in your mind that you've just been programmed from birth. And one of, just kind of maybe expand on what I mean by that is we live in a world where we want to have guarantees, and we want to know that 2 + 2 = 4, and we want to be certain of certain outcomes, right? Go to work, get the paycheck, and that's just not trading. That's not the world of trading. That's not this business. In trading, 2 + 2 might equal 4 one day, but it also might equal 3, or it might equal 8. And as long as it's somewhere between 4 to 6, you're going to be very happy with that, and you can do well. And so those are some of the fundamental things that we're really going to break down in the engine as well. And that's kind of stuff I don't think anybody talks about, and nobody focuses on, because it's not sexy, and it's not necessarily the kind of thing that everybody's rallying to get behind. But that's the business, and that's what it takes. So that's what we're focused on. And then obviously we'll go through the actual the process of how to understand day types, how to understand market structure, how to look big picture and drill down to actually build out plans for the day, right? And this is going to be very focused on day time frame, day trading, and digging out opportunities every day.
I couldn't have said it any better way, man. Like, seriously, it's like very, very funny. Every trader I speak to, every like proper trader, has gone through the same process of starting out, figuring out setups, then getting wrecked, and then after a year or maybe 2 years, something like switches. And for me, this came after very big losses. That's the reason my mindset switched. But it's so recognizable for everyone who has gone through this process of starting out, figuring out a good way to trade, and then getting wrecked, taking all this time to learn it properly. And in essence, it's good to see that for everyone, the path to becoming a trader is relatively the same, because this has led me to basically, open my eyes and to really, really help people properly, because people are going through the same stuff in a different way, but in essence, it's all coming down to the same way, emotional management, sticking to your plan. Because for me and for a lot of people, what happens if they start trading, they create a strategy, then they make 2 successful trades, then 1 trade fails, so they change the strategy and they start again. So some successful trades, some failed trades. Oh, I have to change my strategy. But once you realize that a strategy doesn't mean having no unsuccessful trades, you're going to be 100% successful and only reap in the money, Wolf of Wall Street, life is one big party. That's just not how it works. And once you realize that, beautiful things can happen.
Yeah. It's funny how I think we like to think that we're special and we're unique, and we're just we're really not in a lot of senses, right? When it comes to just people in general, like all of us, at our core, people are very, very similar. Depending on where we're raised and our background, and even where we're born. We become wildly different by the habits we form and the things that are put into us. When it comes to trading, we all struggle with the same things. And that's why having like a group and having mentors and stuff is so important, because people who've been down the road, they can quickly identify the things that you're just going to have to keep making the mistake of for months and sometimes years. They can quickly identify, like, hey, I've been there. I know exactly what this is. This is exactly how you fix it. Right? And yeah, it's funny to your point.
Yep. So in short, for the people who just tuned in, we've gone over the alt market, we've gone over the Bitcoin market. If you've just tuned in, make sure to rewatch that. Just scroll back to the beginning, watch it again, because there's some very good stuff in there that might help you over the course of the next week. Apart from that, we are going to launch our margin engine. I'm just going to post the link straight after the stream. You guys can sign up. I've had a ton of requests. Yeah. So make sure to check that out. And I guess that should be it. Some further updates on what we're doing right now. We fixed the website. There were some major backend issues. So it took a while to actually figure that out. Corpse was, fleeing for his life from a hurricane. So yeah, last week was like a crazy week, but everything is 100% in order now, and we're going to start out pumping more and more content for everyone. So I'm really looking forward to that. and get back to business. That's it from my side. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Corpse.
No, I think that's good. I mean, I know we've talked about doing these streams more often, so I'm actually looking forward to that because it's very different than just recording and putting stuff out there. So
absolutely,
I don't know. I actually enjoy just kind of hanging out and chatting about markets and stuff and trading because it's kind of my life. So
it's all our lives. It's everyone's life.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you're a plumber or something, you can go to, talk about your day and be like, oh, I was at this house and a pipe broke and this or that, whatever, right? And if you're a trader, it's like you're talking about numbers. And it's like, if you don't understand what Bitcoin's trading at and so forth, it's like to an outside perspective, you're just staring at a screen, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to talk about with like anybody else outside of it. And it gets old just texting people or tweeting people or whatever. So it's cool to actually, have the voice interaction.
No, I agree. And for all the members of our group, of course, this margin engine, it's very important to understand because we had a lot of questions about why are you limiting, the amount of spots that are available. And the reason is we're actually going to have these calls with you, us. If you're watching right now, we are going to talk to you live, answer questions, talk about anything you need to know. And that's also part of the reason why the spots are limited. And we're going to do a lot of these live streams, not only for the margin engine, also for the crypto campus in general, our YouTube audience. We're going to do this every week, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that would be it.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I'll let you go, and we will catch you guys in the Discord, and then we'll or actually, did you post a link already for the engine?
Let's see. I am doing that right now.
Okay. Because yeah, that 30 spots is so important, and it really is one of those things. And this is a little bit not a trial and error, but we're gonna kind of see how the group size works because this is our first time doing it, obviously. But just to have like the information behind, let's say, volume profiling, for instance, you can go to Chicago, anywhere near the CME, take a weekend course, and they'll break down how to do volume profiling, right? Charge you $400 or $500, $600, whatever. But that kind of knowledge, in my opinion, is like extremely limited, and it's extremely out there. But to really make something that's going to, be able to transfer into like results, what you really need is some good hand-on-hand interaction and be able to say like, this is specifically what I'm struggling with, or this is what I don't understand. And that kind of availability, it's impossible to do with several hundred people or something. So that's why the small cutoff, and we're probably not going to be offering this very often because it goes for 7 weeks. So for those of you, I know I've gotten a bunch of messages about it as well, Jeff. But for those of you who are interested, it's really important to get on that list as quick as possible, if you're serious about it.
Absolutely. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. That would be it. Happy trading, everyone.
Yeah, be well, everybody. Watch your risk, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.